Time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go.
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition. Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod. Use the
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and to another episode in 2024. We have our co-hosts Blake and Bryce joining us today, and a special guest, Darian, whom we actually met at Star Wars Trivia Night, which was a trivia night in anticipation for Bucketheads Part 3, which, if any of you guys listened to our Bucketheads interview a while back in October, November, something like that in 2023, if you haven't heard that, definitely go check that out. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can find a cool sort of playlist on our YouTube channel there where you watch all the episodes and then you can listen to the after show. But today we are talking about Star Wars culture, how it changed the world, different fan clubs, and so much more. Let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
I just realized that's not Star Wars music at all.
Into the wrong
It's changed over to Adventure Time lo-fi. That's not Star Wars lo-fi. Sounds great though, yeah.
Did you get tricked because Star Wars is always an adventure for your time?
I guess so. Oh, this is great. This is lovely. It's so relaxing.
I mean,
Fall asleep.
it's really nice.
All right, well, welcome back, Blake.
Chut, Josh. Good to be here.
Chut. And welcome back, Bryce. Hello, sir.
Heyo, boyos.
Hey, yo, and welcome back. And hello to our special guest, Darian. Welcome, Darian.
Hello, my friends. I just wanted to point out I am not the Darian that has been on here before.
That's correct. Yes, and a great thing to point out. That's something I I had to get Darian's last name on my phone because I've got so many Darians on my phone. So if the other Darian hears this, maybe he's laughing right now. But
I'm sure he's having a good chuckle. I know he's a listener.
It'll mess him up. I was listening to this at work
Yeah.
ago, and every time you guys go Darian, I'd pause and look up, and it's like, that's not me.
Nice. That's awesome. I thought we might go through, just sort of the different fan clubs, the way that Star Wars has had an impact on pop culture, things like that. There's a lot of, this is a topic that could be revisited multiple times through the lens of different sources and consistently be like a new conversation to talk about, right? But today we're just kind of like going off of the surface and I like the whole idea of like fan clubs and how those have had a big influence. And I don't know, Darian, maybe am I incorrect to assume that maybe you've got some familiarity with all that, seeing as you suggested the topic, or am I just kind of going into this blind here?
I have definitely bounced between a lot of different clubs and never really joined them, but it's amazing how wildly different Star Wars fans are between groups and how they get together for Star Wars.
Yeah.
I originally joined the Star Wars card game in the 90s. Most of you probably weren't even alive yet.
Oh, dang, nope.
Correct.
I didn't even know there was a card game in the 80s. I thought those were all 90s-based card games.
It was just like a trading card game, right? Or like,
not really trading. It's kind of like Magic, but more complicated.
right? Okay,
Interesting. So
that's
like,
impressive.
Yeah.
It's more complicated, but as someone who plays Magic, I might be interested in this.
Well, sorry. It outdates the prequels, and like they haven't made it since probably '99. But I used to have a couple 100,000 cards for it.
Oh, dang.
what was it called?
This CCG Star Wars is how you can find it, and it has everything from the original 3 movies that you could possibly think of.
I'm getting the one from the Wizards of the Coast era, but which I have a few myself from that time, but that was from 2002 to 2005. I don't know about the old one.
And this comes after the Topps cards, I assume, then?
No, this is... when was this? I think it was like 95, roughly.
I could put it in the crew chat. Just found the wiki for it. They look cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it was a really great game, but the learning curve to get into it was crazy.
Like Magic.
The Star Wars.
And ironically, everybody didn't really get along for that. Like, you never saw groups get together outside of tournaments.
Was it
But,
just because it was more obscure? There wasn't as many people doing it.
Well, I was up in Kamloops at the time of that, so I played tournaments in like Kelowna, Vernon, whatnot. But
Okay.
it was like you got so much knowledge in that game that wasn't available because the internet wasn't as easy to use as it is now.
Right.
So people would buy cards just to learn things about characters.
Interesting.
It's pretty smart.
All right,
niche.
I'm looking at the trying to find you on the World Champions, Darian.
Oh, you won't find me. I was terrible at it, and
I was gonna say the real trick is to you gotta filter through all the Darians that are on the list. There's probably so many of them.
Yeah, they're so good, man.
Yeah, we will all number into like the threes, I'm sure.
Hey, Darian, I gotta ask, because if you were into a card game in you know that far back, did you ever go to the very first ever sort of Star Wars online sort of message forum? It was called FidoNet, Star Wars Echo. Do you recall anything like that? It was before the Force.net.
So I remember a couple of my friends talking about it that were really into the books. Ironically, the book readers were more social than the card gamers. So I don't think I ever went myself, though.
Okay.
I remember StarWars.com starting, everybody being really excited for it.
It was like something official.
Yeah. It was around the prequel era, though, was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a picture of an AT-AT and then Chewbacca next to him in this like terrible early 90s webpage design. But like,
Oh man.
it's like, we're Star Wars nerds. We should have a good website.
Yeah. That's awesome. I feel like amongst so many different costuming and gaming groups and stuff, there's so much stuff to get it, out there right now. I got a list here that we can just kind of run through, and maybe each of you guys might have something to sort of tack on to this. But starting with Fido.net, Star Wars Echo. This is before the Force.net, which launched in '96. And that was like a first of its kind. This was before the internet sort of got mainstream. In the early '90s, it wasn't really a popular thing to have. People just didn't have home computers back then. Not everyone, right? So that was like a notable message board, because out of the Star Wars fans that existed in the world, only a percentile of the Star Wars fans actually had a computer that could actually get on this message forum. So that's the only reason why I'm throwing it in there as the first thing. Older fans, people like Darian, older sort of people that may have been sort of living through the 80s and the 90s as a Star Wars fan through the dark times, they would recall the Force.net. That was like, the big unofficial sort of like source for Star Wars conversation, stuff like that. Darian, did you ever get on the Force.net?
I was briefly on there, but I've been on the internet so long, I remember you had to dial the computer before the web was the internet. Like, you guys don't know the difference between the internet and the web. The web was like a fancy new thing where you could just go and transfer wherever you wanted.
Like, you're talking pre...
Yeah, I think he means you have to actually type in websites.
What do you call search engines, right? Or browser.
Even probably linkability.
Yeah.
You need a direct line.
This is before Google.
Like, if you wanted to see somebody's website, you had to dial their modem and connect to it
crazy
through like this really strange internet.
So it was like,
and then, the web people were all freaked out about it. This is going to destroy the internet, and it's like now there is no difference.
It's like you're typing in someone else's IP address to connect to their web page or something.
Hardlining into someone's computer.
Yeah, and then you'd have to sit there for a minute while it actually dialed and made that horrible sound.
That's the part I remember.
Yeah. Because I definitely had dial-up, but I didn't. But we had you could actually have web addresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Like your
Yahoo.
Yeah. So how do you hear about the Force.net? If is it just like word of mouth?
Basically, yeah. Like I remember where that stuff started really taking off was about the time that I think it was Mysteries of the Sith came out, which was a sequel to Dark Forces. But I wasn't on there much just because I couldn't keep up with everyone else at the time. I was pretty young.
Yeah.
So, and an absolutely atrocious speller. So
It must have been a nightmare then trying to log into all these websites. You can't spell anything right.
Oh, and yeah, you had to have a certain type of email to sign up, or some forums you had to verify how old you were with like your ID and stuff, but you couldn't even really trust that because it's like, well, how are you verifying and just getting my driver's license or something?
Just collecting people's IDs.
Right?
Well,
oh, that's weird. I wasn't in an accident. Why do I have all these points?
yeah. And some people might be listening going like, okay, why are we talking about Force.net and Fido.net and all these different online groups? It's because a lot of these predate a lot of the existing kind of in-person sort of clubs and things that connected people together. Because as time's gone by, I think like as pop culture has sort of grown, it's sort of provided this mainstream understanding of what Star Wars is. It's like, you knock on your neighbor's door and most likely their kid's got a Star Wars t-shirt, right? But 20 years ago or something like that, that may have not been the case, and certainly the fan group was a lot smaller, and a lot of these online communities and stuff sort of helped build a foundation of fan groups, fan clubs, and people that would sort of get together and talk about this particular thing, right?
Get together and play D6, the Star Wars role-playing game.
Exactly, yeah.
1987.
So one fan club that was one of the longest running fan clubs ever out there is actually the Star Wars Fan Club Germany, which has been running since 1981 under the name European Star Wars Fan Club. And then in 95, the club gained a license to be called the official Star Wars Fan Club Germany and changed its name to Offizier Star Wars Fan Club. That was probably terrible German there. But another interesting thing is like the official Star Wars magazine actually gets a custom cover for that fan club. So there's a big fan base in Germany. Yeah, which I had no clue. I had no idea. Cool. It makes sense now that I see numbers sort of more higher in Germany for our podcast downloads than other European countries, but I never clued into that before. And so
I believe Germany actually has the largest Star Wars museum.
Really?
Oh, really?
Like bigger than Rancho Obi-Wan?
Well, Rancho Obi-Wan has the largest collection, but this is like a museum that you can walk around and see cities and whatnot.
Oh, interesting. Wow,
cool.
That's cool.
I have to stop off in Germany.
Yeah.
Has there been a celebration there? Has it just been London as far as Europe and
I think
UK?
It's London. I think it's just London. Let me just take a look.
No,
I don't know. I've never been to a celebration. It's something I've only really been aware of for a few years.
Oh,
I think they're probably afraid of people dressing up as Imperial officers in Germany.
Celebration Europe. Celebration Europe 2 was July 26th through to the 28th. That was in 2013. That was in Essen, Germany. So that's
that would have been fun.
There you go. It was in Germany. Another notable club which started up at one point a while ago, founded in '99, was the R2D2 Builders Club.
Oh yeah,
and any convention that anyone's ever been to, there is most likely been an R2D2 rolling around somewhere because someone built it as part of the R2D2 Builders Club and brought it to that convention just to drive it around and show it off.
They do such good work, man. I know when we went to Orlando Celebration, there was like thousands of R2 units. They were all extremely impressive.
Oh, there was like a whole, we got a picture. There was a whole picture. There was a legion of R2 units. Yeah, there was at least.
Or Astromechs, I guess, because a lot of them are custom.
Yeah, it was at least 100, at least.
I'm thinking thousands.
Thousands.
I mean, you had one at the fundraiser, Darian.
Yeah.
Who built that one?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of BC Droid Builders. And what was that gentleman's name? We were talking about him the other day.
Yeah, because it was nice.
That was a good one.
So the guy that brought that actually isn't the owner of it. He borrowed it from his friend because he was fixing it, I believe. That was part of the thing there. It had like a battery issue, I believe. But yeah, that thing is so beautiful. And
it was a bad motivator, I think.
Yeah, just trying to get it in and out of the SUV, it took the three of us, and Caleb's a strong guy, so.
Oh, I think those things are pretty heavy then.
I mean, they have a tiny man inside. So
right?
Yeah.
And we just need him hot dog.
Pretty heavy.
Pour Bailey's down the tube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
What do you think you want tonight?
what's crazy is the current membership stands over 7,100 people at the R2D2 Builders Club, and it continues to grow. And like Darian was just saying, like there's subsidiary clubs of that larger establishment, which are like the BC, Droid Builders Club, and
So that probably wouldn't be included in the 7,100.
I'm not entirely sure. I would imagine though, if anyone's part of the BC Droid Builders Club, they probably have some sort of recognition within the R2D2 Builders Club. You know, maybe a profile on their site or something like that. You know, who knows? But what's interesting is the official club logo was adopted by the Lucasfilm R2D2 unit for the crew gear during the filming of Attack of the Clones in Australia.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of a neat little fun fact. But there's a great example of like a fan club organization, and it goes full circle. And you know, it goes right back to the official Lucasfilm teams, and you have, you know, the influence that has been caused by something going right back into that original cause again, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool because I feel like this is something that's become somewhat regular in Star Wars. I know the podcast that you guys did last week talking about the 90s stuff. A good example is like Quinlan Voss, right? In a lot of the comics.
Yeah.
Like you, and then that went back and was in the films and became like official canon as well. I think they've used a lot of the Mandalorian Club people to be in the background of the Mandalorian series.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in the 501st.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were used as extras in the Mandalorian. Yeah. Another great fan sort of thing is Rancho Obi-Wan, one of the largest private Star Wars collections in the world. It's a place that you can go to. It's in California. You can go in and see the Steven Sansweet's big collection. You know?
Have you looked into going? I'm quite curious if it's like a typical museum where you just can show up and buy tickets the day of, or do you have to like reach out and organize something?
I don't
know. You do have to reach out. Steve 3 from Bucketheads actually went, and I believe it was not the easiest thing to do because of security reasons.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
it's definitely on my bucket list, so I want to check it out at some point.
Yeah, we got to do this. Yeah.
Apparently, there's the speeder from A New Hope is outside, and they're like, you can take a piece because this thing is falling apart, and they just want fans to have some of it.
That's pretty cool. So we got to go soon. Is it because it's just left out in the sun? They couldn't cover it, or is it just made out of foam?
It was left out in the rain and sun and everything for like 40 years, and
right.
I could be wrong about that. Heard from multiple people that's a thing, and it's like part of me is so happy, but a little part of me dies because it's like, no, that thing has to last forever.
So everyone who goes
I'm surprised there's just not like.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not just like hundreds of, nerds descending on this thing like vultures. So they can take a piece of it and then make like a little shrine. Because this is what happened in for religions, right? You like take a little piece and then you you bring it back and you're like, yeah, if you want to come, see my piece of the speeder, $5.
I'm picturing the fans essentially just Jawas, just stripping this thing.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta dress up like Jawas when we go there and take
just pulling the cables and stuff out.
Yeah.
Everyone bring your brown bathrobe.
That's right. And two flashlights.
He's just chasing us away.
Yeah.
Like a broom.
Damn Jawas.
Yeah. Filthy creatures.
Speaking of conspiracies and fans influencing actual Star Wars, it's my personal theory that KR8 from Bucketheads influenced the medical droid in Andor.
Oh, we should pull this up.
If you watch Andor, and they picked the guy up that had the stroke and put him on the gurney, that droid looks exactly like KR8.
Oh, that'd be cool. We gotta check this out now.
Yeah, we gotta take a look at this. That's a great.
I don't think we.
Sorry, say again.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh. No, well, I was just saying, like, while we're talking about the influence that sort of thing sort of causes, like costuming groups have a massive impact on official fandom. We have 501st Legion, Rebel Legion, Mando Mercs, all the different sort of subsidiary groups, beneath that. There's many smaller kind of factions in the 501st Legion that are designated for like underworld, related things, or like Tusken Raiders and Jawas fall under like the crate something or another, the crate raiders or whatever they're called. There's all these different like kind of sub factions that they have, for the all the different kind of alternatives other than a stormtrooper. So like there's something for everybody in the costuming world, and to get the official sort of profile on their a part of their group, you have to put in a lot of effort to get the screen accurate.
Yeah, the official version.
Yeah.
And I know after getting a set of stormtrooper armor, the fandom group I'm looking to get after is anything that can sit down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly why I was waiting doing the Juggernaut driver.
Yeah, like the tank guys. That's the way to do it, because then you just have fabric pants.
Oh yeah, those guys and the shore troopers. from Rogue One?
I'd question that. They got kilts, so it's more comfortable. But I don't know if you can sit.
They have kilts?
I think so.
It's still better than a plastic butt.
That's true. It's a cod piece.
Yeah, I'm just going to spend every convention looking at the other bucket heads and being like, hey, look, I'm going to go up the stairs.
Yeah. That's the one thing, because I love Republic Commando, and that's the one thing I'm just like, oh man, but their cod piece goes like all the way from the front around to the back, and it's like a one piece
So
thing.
bulky.
Oh, it's so bulky.
Man.
Yeah, those guys can't stand. Like,
They probably can't walk. You gotta have to put you on like
those guys can barely lean over. Like the chest piece is so bulky.
Yeah, it's
and they got the
really thick
overlap
armor.
of the top piece with the bottom piece.
I know, it looks
Everything's
really
so
cool.
boxy.
Yeah, they can basically just stand there. Like we have a picture from Celebration
Mm-hmm.
of us kind of all on our knees, you know, with a hands
Oh,
above our
right.
head.
Yeah.
The whole Delta squad behind us in
Yeah.
execution style, you know. It's so cool. But, you know, you look at those guys, like, even just pointing the gun down, it's like, man, you can barely get there. Like,
Yeah. It's like, all right, hope you guys enjoyed the photo. Let me know if you need another. And they just like slowly waddles away.
yeah. They move like an inch and all you hear is...
Well, you don't realize how much you need to move your core until you wear something like a clamshell across your lower abdomen.
Oh, yeah.
Like every take in Bucketheads, you see these guys in the TK outfits doing these weird stretches to just try and get their core going.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
And like most of these guys work construction, so it's not like they're weak, right?
Yeah, for sure.
At least they got the
Try to
build
loosen
for it.
everything up.
Yeah. At least they got the build for it. So I found something real quick before I read this. Did you find that reference there, Bryce?
The comparison, the droid.
Oh, which one?
Oh, never mind that. Yeah.
That's
I like briefly was looking for it, but I
You hear the
couldn't
key
find
punch.
it.
he's like, what?
I was just looking something else up.
Yeah. All good.
No, I was like searching
You were
images
looking
up,
at
and it
Ula
didn't come
again,
up
weren't you,
immediately, so I
Bryce?
gave up.
Checking his Twitter feed or something.
I was looking up Ula from Jabba's Palace.
Didn't come up in the first search, so I just gave up.
Fair enough.
I have I have an interesting story here to read about the 501st Legion, and I feel like it kind of sort of fits with the idea behind our conversation today. So I'll just give this quick read, maybe 2 minutes. So the real story behind the name 501st is rather unremarkable, and I just want to ask any of you guys here: do you know where the 501st name comes from?
Vader's Legion.
Yeah. Do you know where that comes from?
The address to the original clubhouse.
Yeah. Darian's got it.
Really?
Yep.
That's cool.
So I don't need to read this
Okay.
whole thing since you guessed it, but so basically I'll skip to the end. I'll skip to the end, but essentially, Albin Johnson, who is the founder of the 501st Legion, he's known as TK210, and he goes through this entire letter. If you go to the 501st.com website, there's an About Us section. You can click on a chapter called Origin of the 501st name and take a look. But this whole sort of thing, it started a while ago. It started in when was it? The 90s?
Yeah, I think it was 93 or 4.
Yeah, it was a while ago, and at the time, Levi's 501 jeans were quite popular, but he liked the number because of the way it sounded. It sounded like fighting Seabees from World War II or something like that. There's a lot of like World War II kind of inspiration behind the reason
Right.
why it's called it's
like
got a
the
number.
101st Airborne. Was
Yeah,
like the- like
exactly.
airborne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where he got the Legion section is when Palpatine says in Return of the Jedi that he's got 2 of his finest legions
Right.
on Endor, right? So the 501 came from all the inspiration developed behind a lot of the World War II stories that have been around for a long time. The Legion part came from Star Wars, and combining those two together, he came up with 501st Legion.
That's
And-
that's how he invented the jeans.
no, that's how he invented the right. And then, like, furthermore, the various different garrisons. There were originally 3 garrisons. There was Garrison East, West, and Central. So originally, this of course started in the U.S. and like that's how they separated the organization of fans, across the country. But they weren't called garrisons until the map was divided a little bit more into like sort of big chunks. And then that became Eastern, Southern, Central, Midwest, Southwest, and Northwest, as well as the European garrison overseas. And then they became even more divided, and those became outposts. So now today we have this giant, like, global sort of
The
thing.
Empire is taken over.
Yeah.
Essentially.
The whole idea of where that came from, and the term detachments is used quite a bit to sort of describe the different kind of even smaller areas. And how it grew to be this large interconnected web is because it allowed for that to happen, right? Instead of just sort of putting one branch over the, like, okay, everyone's 501st, you know, in with no kind of subdivision. There was no sort of easy way to sort of organize local events, such and such. Right. You know, I think there was a recognition. It's like, okay, there's going to be some splinter cells going off if they're like, oh, well, we're not in the U.S. We can't be part of the 501st.
Right. So then they're going to go do their own thing.
Yeah, they're going to do their own thing. So now it's like kind of widely known that the 501st is like a global costuming group that's like sort of as close to official as you can get. And it's because of the format that this sort of grew, and it's taken all this time to get there. But it's pretty neat.
It's like Rome, you know, they take you over, let you keep your personal religions and stuff. Just gotta
and that's that. He actually mentions that in his readout here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Roman Empire was actually sort of inspiration for kind of the structure.
That's funny because I just totally threw that out there.
Yeah, no, I had
no idea.
That was like a serious thing. Yeah, that was part of the idea. So. Lots of thought kind of went into this at first. And in 2004, author Timothy Zahn, with Lucasfilm's approval, honored the costuming group by incorporating the 501st Legion Elite Stormtrooper unit into his Star Wars novel Survivor's Quest.
Oh,
that was the first time it made its way into official Star Wars story. And then several other authors have since followed suit. But in 2005, the 501st Legion finally hit mainstream Star Wars canon, sort of, when its inclusion in the novelization for Episode 3 was released, and that one was written by Matthew Stover, if I'm not mistaken, and that one gets a lot of good feedback. You know, if you ever read a Star Wars book and you're like, oh, what do I read the novelization for Episode 3. It's supposed to be really good. So the blue clone troopers, you know, everyone knows them from the Clone Wars as Anakin's, you know, Legion, going into the Jedi Temple, killing all the Jedi and stuff like that. That was when they got the nickname Vader's Fist, and because of the, you know, inclusive use of the unit, now it's 501st Legion Vader's Fist. It's got like the two kind of names. But it all originated from, you know, some guy coming up with a costuming group.
That's pretty cool.
And it's like, you know, and then, you know, I just find it fascinating that there's so many instances like this where fans have sort of given back to Star Wars in that sense and affected not only sort of the pop culture world of, you know, you go to any convention, 501st is there.
Oh, yeah.
But they've also affected the mainstream Star Wars stories as well. Like, that's just mind blowing to me, you know?
And Order 66 in the Temple really illustrates how far and further the average Sith was than the average Jedi, because you have 501st on the Venator class Star Destroyer that Maul takes out an entire can't think of the word, that all the 501st are on that. He takes out without a lightsaber, but one detachment of the 501st takes out all of the Jedi that are on Coruscant.
Are you referring to the final season of Clone Wars with when Ahsoka and Maul are escaping?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
because like there's 200 Jedi, I believe, at the temple roughly, and they all have lightsabers, and they get wiped out by half of the 501st, but Maul takes out the other half single-handedly without a lightsaber.
It's pretty crazy. I think those Jedi need more training.
Yeah.
Because Ahsoka,
there's a reason they're left behind at the temple.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of looks into that a little bit with the way Anakin trained Ahsoka as well, trying to really push her to her limits compared to he wanted her to be better than the average Jedi, right? It's in the same season.
Yeah, that's right. Great episode.
And the Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi, that's the one. Yeah. So Star Wars has also had a big culture change for a lot of things. You know, the impact on filmmaking alone, that could be its own conversation, you know, down from visual effects to the way that things are filmed, written, shot, pace of story, everything, right? You know, George made the movie that he wanted to make, and he changed a lot of stuff in the world because of it, right? Had an impact on Fox, major impacts there, with how a small studio taking a chance on a guy like him, and now Fox has, you know, been bought by Disney, but it became sort of a big label, you know, movie distribution company because of Star Wars as well.
Was it not big already?
It was pretty big already, but it was known, yeah, but it wasn't like, so it says on the wiki that stocks went from $6 to $25 per share after Star Wars came out, which is pretty nuts for back in 1977. You know, like, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, quadrupled.
Yeah.
Almost 5 times.
Almost 5 times, exactly. Yeah. There's been parodies. Okay, so what's the first parody that comes to mind when you think of a Star Wars parody?
Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken, Spaceballs. Yeah. I mean, Family Guy.
You read the Family Guy one, yeah.
Simpsons.
I got like a book called like Star Warped that I found at like a, you know, when I was just like and it was just like the most strange, like someone just wrote like a goofy version of Star Wars. Like, there's so much.
Oh, dude, yeah, so many things. Phineas and Ferb did one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There was actually, the Rick and Morty 6th season finale was poking jabs at Star Wars with lots of lightsaber references. If anyone is a big Rick and Morty fan, fanboys.
One thing that really,
that one's meta though.
yeah,
So I don't know.
fanboys, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that really impacted me, like growing up, was just all the Flash animation on like so many websites. There's so many dumb Star Wars songs and like the Star Wars gangsta rap. Like
Oh
that thing
man,
was
yeah. If you're
going
getting
around.
the
The,
internet
like,
culture, yeah.
oh
there's
man,
endless.
yeah.
He's Boba,
Yeah.
the Fett, his backpacks.
Hitler
got
versus
jets.
Vader.
Seagull, stop it now.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's another thing. What do you call it? The word for songs.
Don't underestimate
Parody songs.
my power.
Yeah, fan films. Fan films, that's another thing. Fan films, parody songs, and fan film parody animation. And music. Weird Al, big Star Wars fan, came up with Star Wars songs long before he was writing stuff for the Lego Star Wars stuff. You know.
Oh yeah, he wrote a song for Phantom Menace. When it came out.
Yeah, and that song came out
Before it came
6
out.
months before Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
And he was almost right on everything. There's one line in that song that's wrong, and it's like clearly somebody leaked the script to you.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he got the leak script and did the song on it, and and it became a thing. Yeah.
Dang.
Theater.
If you guys want,
go ahead.
If you guys want a great song about Star Wars, there's a group called JT Music, and they do several Star Wars songs. But they did one for Battlefront 2 that is phenomenal. It's kind of like a rock rap song, and the writing in it is so clever that I don't want to spoil it, but it is phenomenal. It's the best tribute song I've ever heard.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have a look.
Maybe play a clip here. You can Bluetooth on it, Josh?
I can't find it on Spotify. I don't think they're on. I think it might just be. Oh wait,
I think it's on YouTube.
This is just on YouTube.
Stomp Out Hope.
I'm a dark lord who's got no competition. I'm not what you call a politician, cause I didn't run for my position. I took it with the force, it's strong with this one. Don't be shocked when you're my next victim. Any rebels left, I'll order 66 'em. Do it. Like moisture farmers with good income, you'll no longer be in existence. Your hatred is only gonna make you strong. I wanna plot twist, I am your father. Now do my bidding, Panther Farter. All I wanna hear from you is listen, if your name is Luke, can I ask for a hand? Tell me where is the rest of your pitiful little band? Cut me in half, I'll come back from the dead. Then at long last, the Sith will have their revenge.
There you go. So, yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, thanks, Darian.
That reminded me of one Bryce used to listen to all the time. That was this kind of emo-y song, but this guy was just reading the Palpatine talking about Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
I kind of want to play a clip of that now because that's hilarious. Who's that by, John? Or by Bryce? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
What was that?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I can find it at some other point. Yeah.
If any of you guys have
There's
seen,
so many great Star Wars songs.
Oh yeah, so many, and all done by fans, and people who just love Star Wars, and like I'm sure a lot of people have consumed the Oral Knots YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I've watched them through a few times.
Yeah, great stories. They're just recuts. They're just re-edits and dubbed audio.
Dude, so much work though.
So much work.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I can't believe they've done even some of the Disney movies now too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It's they did one. I think they did Force Awakens.
Okay. Did they do Rogue One?
Not that I know of. I think it's just Force Awakens so far.
Okay.
But they're behind. They need to catch up.
Yeah.
I want more.
Go to the laser moon. I always wanted to
more.
go to the laser moon for my birthday party.
One more. Yeah. So theater. I mean, recently in Vancouver, they did Star Wars Burlesque. I heard. I was asked about this by many people. It's like, did you go see Star Wars Burlesque? I was asked by by the service woman at Kia. I was asked
You just have that look about you, Josh. You look like that guy who was Star Wars Burlesque night.
It was unbelievable, man. Like, I couldn't believe how many people were just raving over this, right? At the Star Wars trivia night that we were at, the folks sitting next to us, they had, I believe they had actually gone, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was somebody else at the trivia night.
Nope, that was them.
But
Yeah,
that was them. Okay, yeah. So it was mind blowing. Just like so many people I came across over the course of 3 months. It was like they'd all gone to the show. I was like, whoa.
Can't call yourself a real fan now, Josh. You didn't go.
Guess not.
It just opens it up to so many different people that wouldn't be into Star Wars, but all of a sudden they like burlesque and they're like, oh yeah,
Right.
like it's just another in to make more fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that was called The Empire Strips Back.
That's
and
right.
I believe they're from Australia.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't realize they're from out of town, so they must travel around and do it then.
Yeah. I don't know where they
Yeah,
are.
they were in Portland for a month.
Oh, cool.
And I think they just left Portland.
Rip.
But, Simon, the 501st Stormtrooper that was there, he went to it and he said it was amazing.
So
there you go.
tickets are currently available for Toronto, Atlanta, and Denver, but they have been across the world. Let me tell you, all across Australia. They've hit Paris. They've gone across North America. They've hit San Francisco and Los Angeles, San Diego, all up the West Coast, Chicago, New York, Detroit, Phoenix. You know, they've got 3 cities left. So if anyone's interested in watching that, Toronto, Atlanta, and Denver, you're in luck.
I'm curious if Disney signed off on it, if they're just doing it. Did you see Disney giving the approval for a burlesque thing?
Well, it's a parody production,
Right.
So
then they can kind of get away with it just based on that.
they can. That's also why it's not called Star Wars. It's just called The
okay.
Empire Strikes Back, and it's in the Star Wars font.
Yeah. So then they just,
'Cause
it's not, but it is.
Star Wars is the trademark.
Yeah.
The Empire Strikes Back is not. So yeah, it's like as long as they don't.
I think that was the original title George wanted, actually, but they talked him out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want something snazzy like The Empire Strips Back.
There's no bras in space.
That's right.
There's no underwear in
none.
space. No
No underwear.
No. Carrie.
More intense.
Yeah, Carrie, take it off, Carrie. No.
Take it off, Harrison. Harrison, take it off.
Harrison.
Mark, is that a panty line I see, Mark?
Mark, put your clothes on, Mark.
Hey George, where's Chewie's clothes?
He doesn't have any. Nope.
Chewie, you're gonna have to go shave for this.
Really smooth down there.
I think that's the only time I feel like we would ever do a collaboration with Manscaped. You know, I feel like most podcasts out there, they got a thing going with Manscaped. We're like the one that doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like
a lawnmower size.
I feel like somehow we work in Chewbacca. All of a sudden
Yeah.
it works. You know, like yeah, lawnmower, Chewbacca lying down.
Are you having trouble taming your Wookiee?
Are you having grooming trouble? Yeah. Let's not forget the political impact of Star Wars. In 1979, May the 4th Be With You began with a speech by Margaret Thatcher in a British newspaper. And that has been going ever since. People celebrate Star Wars Day around the world, which has now been worked into the Star Wars calendars that they print, but even more so, like people who don't even celebrate, who aren't even Star Wars fans, know about Star Wars Day. You know, there's sales at Toys R Us. There's Steam sales, for all the Star Wars games on May the 4th. Like, it's been turned into this global phenomenon because one person said, "May the 4th be with you."
It was on a radio show or something, wasn't it?
It was in a newspaper in 1979. Margaret Thatcher.
And I love that it's slowly becoming like Boxing Week, where it's just starting to take over the whole week. Because then there was Revenge of the 5th, and
Yeah.
Revenge of the 6th,
Yeah.
as there's always two.
Apparently, there's a religion called Jediism. It's a real-life religion
Yes.
based on Star Wars called Jediism. Follows a modified version of the Jedi Code. And I was like,
And right here in BC, we have one of the first members, the Kelowna Jedi guy.
Really?
Huh. You know what?
Yeah. That's been a thing for about 22 years now, the Kelowna Jedi guy. He goes around on a modded out bicycle and he is head to toe a Jedi.
There's a petition in Turkey to build a Jedi temple within a university. Also got international media attention. I wasn't aware of this.
But this is an actual
It's an actual
pseudo
religion.
religion. There's nothing to do with Star Wars, correct?
It's based on Star Wars. Like, it's based on the Jedi Code.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Because Jedi is a word. Like, there are Jedi in other religions. Like, right? Because I always remember this because whenever I was writing like my weird Star Wars like novel fanfic, whatever you want to call it, as a kid, I never had to do the corrections on the word Jedi in like in Microsoft Word. I was like, nice.
Doesn't have that red line.
So in 2005, the Temple of the Jedi Order was registered in Texas, and it was granted IRS tax exemptions in 2015. And in May 2005, an article of the growth of the Jedi religion by the Catholic author John M. Sweeney was the most read article on the website explorefaith.org that year. So like, it's a thing. It's a real thing.
You could actually claim on your taxes that you were a Jedi.
Yeah,
Huh.
like that. I'm Star Wars fan to the bone, but like to me, I'm like, whoa, like there is
Another
like
level.
another another level there, you know, like, yeah.
I mean, the principles.
I mean,
principles.
As
long as they don't eventually turn it
in a strange, like, yeah, like, well, in a way though, like, you know, the Jedi code is based on some religions, right? Like
documents,
like real world, like,
sorry.
yeah, like pre-Star Wars, you know, actual like very, you know, historically established religions, and it's so interesting to see it kind of come full circle. It's like that can happen, you know. Here's another one. Airplanes. Anna Boeing has at least 8 planes with full body vinyl prints across the structure. Now, when we were at 2017 Celebration, they unveiled the latest 2. That was an R2D2 and a C3PO. It was the C3PO one was like fully gold. You know, it's got like the wired middle and everything like that. And fun fact, recently, tragic events in Japan on the runway. And I was looking at the TV, flaming fireball on the side of the runway, and there was a C3PO plane on the tarmac, like
the background
at one of the ramps. And from the news footage covering this chaotic incident, you could see it in frame on the news, and it was just like, it wasn't the plane that had the accident, but it was like in frame on the camera when it was like looking at the airport. I was like, oh, hey, like I saw the miniature version of that at Celebration Florida in 2017. Like, how crazy is that? Like, you know, C3PO gets to witness the whole event. Like,
Josh, I think you're focusing on the wrong thing in this tragedy.
I mean, yeah, no, it's like, it's crazy that you know, there's like 8 entire commercial airlines out there just sporting Star Wars vinyls. Cultural references through TV shows, Big Bang Theory, Smallville, Star Wars references riddled throughout the media, and let alone, you know, impact on Disney. That's the last
What
thing.
character would you guys put on the Star Wars plane?
Oh, it's got to be Jar Jar, right? With his tongue sticking out and a thumb up.
His tongue is like snaking around all the windows, like to the back of the plane.
That'd be pretty good.
Be good.
So
I think I'd put someone that like famously crashed his X-Wing, like maybe Porkins on there.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think that would go well.
I don't know if I would put a character. I would probably make it just look like it's out of Star Wars, you know, and it's on the fin, just have like a big Rebel logo or something.
Right.
Yeah.
An entire Darth Maul
less
tattoo
character based.
plane.
Oh yeah, big Darth Maul thing. That would be cool.
Like his
The
face
multi-pro.
over the front.
Yeah, just his tattoos across the whole thing.
That'd
Yeah,
be kind of cool.
That'd be
Yeah,
sick.
like just like a weird texture of his actual face on the front
Yeah.
of the plane, just like stretched out around it.
Yeah,
And its sister plane could be the Star Savage Press.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the whole
yellow,
family in.
yellow and black. The whole family. Yeah, Mother Talzin in there.
What if it was the character was from the top, so they're spread eagle, like they got an arm out each wing and then legs out the bottom, the back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's talk a moment. The last thing I got on this list before we wrap it up is the impact on Disney, leading all the way up to the purchase of an acquisition of Lucasfilm. You know, like, did any of you guys do the original Star Tours ride? Remember DJ or Rex Pilot?
I think I did.
Rex?
Yeah, I think I did.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I was on it in '91.
Oh, maybe not that one.
I think I caught one of the last viewings before they revamped it. And that was like first time I went to Disneyland. I think that was 2001, something like that. And then after that,
it at all?
they changed it. They
from the 90s till then though.
So
Or
they
the
no, I
80s?
don't think they changed it at all. And they updated it at one point to sort of include other planets. They completely changed the whole experience. So you can't actually do the original Star Tours anymore.
Right.
So now it's like a whole sort of modular thing. Anytime you go on, it's like different planets. They always add more.
Yeah.
It's like a random rotation and all that stuff. But this is this partnership between Lucasfilm or George and Disney, you know, has kind of moved to today, where now Star Wars is Disney's probably biggest, other than Marvel's, biggest IP. And last year, this most recent year, it was the Star Wars shows that carried Disney Plus. So like,
Yeah, I mean the Star Wars shows that hit Disney Plus are pretty big, so
they were the only shows that actually got good ratings. Like most of the other
that's
shows
beyond me.
didn't do as well, like not nearly as well.
Well, I mean, I guess speaking for myself, I mostly just watch Star Wars on Disney Plus, so
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, you know, we wouldn't have Disney Plus without it, right? So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything to bring up? I'm just kind of running through the whole list here.
The last thing I could think of is how it's kind of changed, I feel like, since Disney's taking over.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, like, do you have anything to say kind of on that matter? Because I feel like there's not, like, the official fan clubs are like a bit different now. I think before they had a lot more
freedom.
Maybe like adult content. Yeah, and freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so in BC here, we have such a wealth of different clubs. Like actually, I would say in Vancouver, we have more than almost anywhere else in the world because we have 501st, Droid Builders. There's 2 podcasts here. I think the other one might have ended though. You have several different fan films that have been going for years. You have Star Wars Theory. We used to have a Star Wars nerd night at one of the clubs. It was unofficial. They called it Nerds After Dark, but like they had a yearly Star Wars night in it. I'm trying to think what else. There's X-Wing. There's 3 different lightsaber leagues here. There was an airsoft group that was doing Star Wars, but I don't think that lasted very long.
I get tired of trooping out and playing with their stormtrooper armor on.
No one could hit anything.
Yeah. Well, let's not forget all the saber companies out there, like Kyle. You know, ALKY Solutions. There's multiple sort of saber based companies out there that literally that's what they sell. They sell lightsabers, and that's 100% of what they do, right?
I feel like there's not enough advertising of all this stuff because I've been here a decade, and I knew 501st was here, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
There's also the Mando Mercs, the Rebel Legion, and there's what's the last one?
I think it's just those big 3. All the other ones are like subsidiary groups to that. But like you can't even walk into a London Drugs without seeing something Star Wars, like toaster, waffle maker, salt and pepper shakers,
merchandising.
Yeah, blenders, Tupperware. Like it's everywhere.
It's Spaceballs.
I love Spaceballs so much.
You got the you have it.
You know the deal that.
Hold on a second.
Do you know the deal that Mel Brooks made with George Lucas to make Spaceballs?
I did not.
No.
There were 2 rules. He was not allowed to dress the main character like Han, so he made him look like Indiana Jones.
Right.
And he wasn't allowed to do merchandise, so that's why the whole merchandising joke is in there.
Nice.
Spaceballs, the mud flap, and everything.
Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
He wasn't wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Darian, I gotta ask before we wrap up, are you a part of any current sort of fan groups or anything? I forget if you mentioned it at the beginning, but if you want to mention that again, I forget.
I'm a part of the Kyber League Vancouver, and I help out on Buck, so those are my 2 big ones.
Sorry, it cut out there for a second. You help out on what?
Bucketheads.
Bucketheads.
YouTube series.
Of course.
Josh, where have you been?
My mistake.
That's actually how I.
Oh, you cut out.
You cut out. Say again?
Oh, that's actually how I became the host that night. I was I helped in costumes. I was an actor. I helped build some sets and gophered for a lot of other parts of Bucketheads.
That's pretty cool. I think we should definitely do a quick shout out for them too here while we're talking about them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if anyone hasn't seen Bucketheads, the fan film, definitely go and check it out on YouTube.
Prepare to be amazed.
Prepare to be amazed. Yeah, part 3 comes out this year in a couple months. Part 3, and that'll be it. And then they're moving on to other things, other Star Wars fan films possibly. So
yes, I'm gonna say still Star Wars related.
Yeah,
or, okay.
I believe so. Yeah, and you can back their Patreon, and that helps them out a lot. And helps everything else. Like people like Darian working on the series, or people putting in $10 a month, whatever makes it come true. Yeah.
All the money that's donated that goes directly to making the stuff. Nobody takes a penny.
That's right. Yeah.
It's always a good thing to clarify.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very important to clarify that.
Yeah. Darian, you got any social handles you want to share?
I am the man Darian on lightsaber education for people that are into making their own fan projects for Star Wars. And then I'll probably be making the Instagram page tonight.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. If you want to send me a link to that, I'll put it in the description for people to check out. Yeah, no, thanks. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. And if you're ever interested in coming back on, feel free. We got you in the Discord now, so we can just make it happen.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, good to chat with you, man.
Blake, Bryce, thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Always good to be here.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you out there.
It was a pleasure.
Keep flying.
All right, and thank you to our audience. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you in the next episode of Star Wars Escape Pod.